Welcome to this webinar on the 3 steps to inner transformation and psychospiritual wellness. We're going to be going over 3 steps to transform our internal space, our inner being, through an Islamic psychological lens, through a lens that is rooted in our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where God is the destination, where God is the priority, where God is, who we keep the eye of our heart on at all times through this human experience that we are going through. So we're going to be going over 3 key steps that I feel are the foundation of any spiritual, mental, emotional growth that you want to attain in life, any positive shift that you want to experience even today. And so this webinar is for you if you feel like you've been on cruise control, whether it's the past few weeks, the past few months, even the past few years. If you feel like you're going through the motions, without receiving fulfillment and nourishment. If you feel like you're longing for some kind of change and positive shift. If this webinar is for you, if you know you need to start putting in more effort in your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but then you keep finding yourself stuck in the same place spiritually. Whether it is, you started the new year and you said, you know what, I'm going to recommit myself. But then what keeps us in that same place? What keeps us in that same spot? One of the things that I learned as a psychologist is that it is not enough to know. It is not enough to be aware of our circumstances, of why we need to change, of our own issues, And so we often think that awareness is the key to change. Awareness is only a little tiny step of the actual product of change. And so many of us, we might be aware of what our issues are. We might be aware of what we need to change. We might be aware of the steps we need to take with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with our creator, but then we have not taken them. Why? So that's what I'm interested in. I like to look at the why, the relationship between what we know and what our heart experiences. So many of you might have known for a while you need to start putting in more effort. You need to make this kind of change. You wanted to take this kind of step, but maybe you haven't really done it so far. And so this webinar is for you if you feel like you keep making goals, you keep making intentions, you keep making resolutions and whatnot, and you find yourself still in the same place. It's like a cycle. This webinar is for you if you feel like you've been acquiring a lot of information. You've done this class, you've done, if you listen to this lecture, you've read this book, but then you feel like you're not seeing the fruits of that knowledge in your life. This webinar is for you if you don't remember the last time you woke up feeling excited about your day, ready to fully maximize what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put right in front of you. And this is huge, because as Muslims, we have to have, Islam empowers us to have this very proactive mentality towards our life. We're not supposed to be complacent. We're not supposed to be passive. And many of us use Islam to contribute to that mentality, where people sometimes say, well, this dunya is supposed to be a prison for the believers. This dunya isn't a place you're just doing time. I think people really misunderstand this. And I think these messages affect our psychology and the way that we approach even our day and our deen and our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This prison for a believer concept does not mean that you are literally in a prison doing your time. This isn't a place where you're just going to let time pass until your sentence is over. Because if we have that mentality, then we're going to look at our life as a punishment, because that's what prison is, right? We're going to look at our time here as, okay, God, I'm just going to do my time and, check off the obligations that you told me to do so I could just get by. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to live a life full of purpose, meaning. We're here to live a life that will allow us to maximize our potential, that will allow us to walk grounded on this earth, walk, elevated on this earth, not elevated in terms of our ego, but our heart, in terms of how we feel with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so if you've been complacent, if you've been passive, if you've been kind of just succumbing to the routine of things, this webinar is for you. And I hope that it shifts your heart and allows you to see your deen, your life, your path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a renewing way, in a new perspective. This webinar is for you if you don't feel enough, like you need something in your life for you to feel more worthy, happier, or sufficed. This webinar is for you if you feel like you have made countless promises and commitments to make a change, but feel like you've been stuck spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. And finally, this webinar is for you if you feel like you can do better and you want to do better and you're ready to do better, to engage in your life more fully, more wholeheartedly, and in a way that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and is rewarding for us not only in this dunya, but in the akhirah. For everything that we do where Allah is the priority, it has meaning for us through the path, but in the destination as well. And that's the beauty of Islam, is that God gives us opportunities to derive meaning from what we do, and that meaning lasts way beyond the time that we do it. You continue to see the fruits of that knowledge, the fruits of what you're doing, the rewards of what you're doing in this dunya, but also when you return to Him. And so, through the steps I'll be teaching you today, just make sure. Through the steps I will be teaching you today, you have the opportunity to begin the journey towards a more peaceful, nourishing, fulfilling life that is pleasing to Allah, but also empowers you spiritually and psychologically. And you have the power and the opportunity to experience this, even if today, right now, as you're watching this webinar, you feel discouraged. Even if you feel like you're not where you want to be in life. Even if you feel right now that things just appear dark and there's no hope in sight. Even if you feel like you've not achieved your goals that you kept setting over the years. Even if you feel like you failed countless times, these steps that I'm going to share with you will still have an impact, and you still have an opportunity to derive benefit from them today. Even if you're not meeting the expectations of who you should be, even if you're tested with difficulties and hardships that are really painful right now, that you feel like you don't know how to manage, you don't know how to get through that. Sometimes it feels like you are being tested in a way that you cannot handle, even though up here you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He's not going to give you something more than you can handle. I want you to know that these steps are so powerful that they can impact you today, even if you feel like, everything you've tried has not worked. Even if you are, if you feel like the things that you did in the past did not last, I want you to kind of renew your perspective, because the mindset that you set towards receiving something also has an impact on how much you receive from it. So I want you to know that wherever you're at, whether you're in a place in your life right now that, where you feel like there's a lot of disapproval of you and your choices, where maybe you're not supported, maybe others make you feel like you're not enough, maybe you feel inadequate right now in the roles you have in your life as a mother, a father, a friend, a spouse, a leader in your community or in your work. Maybe right now you lost significant relationships that left you heartbroken, questioning yourself, a lot of self-doubt, not even just about yourself, but about your goals, about whether you can accomplish what you set out to achieve, about where you stand with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of these things, they can impact your path. And I want you to know that even if you feel any of these things, even if God has not yet answered your prayers that you've been asking for time and time again, I want you to know that what I'm about to share with you today, these 3 steps can have an impact on you, on your heart, that can that can propel you forward towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that can instill more hope in your heart, that can suffice you, that can help you take your power back from everything outside of you that you gave, to make you feel complete, to make you feel worthier. And so it's time. The reason that I did this webinar is because, and I wanted to do it, I wanted to share it with you because I really feel like sometimes we need something that just reminds us, like, if not now, then when? It's time. So if you've been feeling all of these things that I have shared with you, you need to ask yourself, if not now, then when will you start taking steps? Because nothing changes unless you do something, And so it is time. Today, it is time. You bringing your heart today is a beautiful first step. And this is something that Allah sees. If you brought your heart today sincerely, seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking to grow spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, I want you to know that Allah sees that effort, and it's not small in front of Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a shakur. He means that He is the most appreciative. He's the one that comes closer to you more than you come close to Him. He's the one that sees any small effort and He comes running towards you, even though you come walking towards Him. And we know this from Hadith Qudsi, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if my servant comes to me walking, I go to him running. If he comes to me with a hand's length, I go to him with an arm's length. This is the attribute of ash-shakur, the one who appreciates, the one who is the most grateful for any little thing. And so Allah will always come by a far greater distance. So I want you to know that in this moment, He sees this effort. You taking time out of your weekend to join this webinar, to benefit from this webinar. This is not little. This is you taking a step towards Allah. This is you trying to redirect the eye of your heart back to God. He sees this, He hears this. He is as-Sami' al-Basir, right? And so He's the all-hearing, the all-seeing. He is al-Alim, the all-knowing. So He knows, He sees, He validates you more than anyone else can validate. And so inshallah, I hope that, this intention, you bringing your heart can, continue to, can be a means of you receiving a lot of benefit today. And if you haven't set an intention for this webinar, I ask you to just take a moment and renew your intention for joining this webinar. Make an intention for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make an intention that you want to come closer to Him. That, Ya Allah, I want to change. I want to, please, Ya Allah, help me renew my heart. Help redirect my heart back to you. I've been going on cruise control. I've been just like a robot going through the motions. I've been numb. I've been not really aligning myself with you. I've been prioritizing everything else. Ya Allah, please, in this moment, please help me maximize this step. Please accept this from me, and please make it a means to my spiritual, mental, and emotional growth. And so it is time, my brothers and sisters. It's time to stop seeking your wholeness from everywhere else. It's time to start feeling more enough, whole, and empowered simply through your relationship with the one who made you and with yourself. It is time to take your power back from everything outside of you that you gave so easily and thought it would complete you, suffice you, make you happier. Whether it is, people, whether it is your career, whether it is, your material wealth, whether it is, even your loved ones, the power that you gave to others to make you feel like this is what is valuable about you, that now you're worthier. I want you to start thinking about all the things that you've given your power to over the years. What is that thing that you're waiting for that you think if you get in your life that it's going to make you feel more enough, more worthier, happier? Because that is an illusion of shaitan. Shaitan wants you to keep looking at the next step. He wants you to keep thinking that this is not enough. Your present is not enough. What God already put in front of you in your life today is not enough. He's going to always create what I like to call a poverty mindset. This poverty mindset is something that I learned from the Quran, because where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that He promises us, right, with hope and forgiveness, but He warns us about what shaitan promises us with. And He says, shaitan promises you with poverty. What is poverty? Poverty is a loss of anything. I know many times when we read the word poverty, we might think material wealth, a loss of material wealth, but it isn't just loss of material wealth. Poverty is a loss of anything. You could feel a loss of emotional security, a loss of financial security. You could feel a loss of external and internal security. You could feel a loss, yes, of material security, physical security, the roof over your head. But shaitan will always come and promise you with poverty, so that he influences your mindset. And from a psychological perspective, our thoughts and the way that we think about our life, it impacts our behaviors. So shaitan plays a role in that. And as a psychologist, I do not negate the role of shaitan in the health of our minds. Why? Because it's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us about. I cannot negate anything that my Creator has taught me about. And so, yes, we have to look at our past experiences, our traumas, our difficulties, but we have to also understand that there is a force, an entity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught us about that we often go through life neglecting as if it has no value. But it's important to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, take shaitan as what? Your enemy. If you have an enemy, do you let him in your house? Do you let him in your space? Do you let him in where you feel secure? You do not. Do you let him around that which you love? You do not. But because we do not take shaitan as our enemy, we are not aware of, his power, his influence. We don't take the steps to protect ourselves. We don't do our adhkar, the prescriptions that God has given us to protect ourselves against shaitan. We don't engage in these things. We just go through life and then we think, well, what is going on? What is happening to me? And we only focus on, and that actually puts a burden on ourselves, because then a lot of people, and I work with people who've had waswasa and like negative thinking, and a lot of times what it does is that it puts a bigger burden on their own mind and themselves than they were meant to bear, because they don't see the role shaitan is playing. And so shaitan will come and try to cultivate within you a poverty mindset. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to cultivate within you an abundant mindset, that with him, you can get anything and everything. With him, nothing is impossible. With him, he is the source of everything you need. With him is infinite supply. Shaitan comes to you and says, you're really going to take that step towards Allah? You're going to lose. You're really going to wear hijab? You're not going to get that job. You're really going to, leave this job because you found out it doesn't have halal means? You're going to be poor. Your family's going to be on the streets. Shaitan will always come and promise you with all the ways that you are going to lose. He wants to create within you a poverty mindset. So my brothers and sisters, it's time to get rid of this illusion and understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put everything you need in your life today, in the here and now. He is planning your life perfectly. He has custom designed and tailored your life perfectly. So what you need is already here. What you have, what you need is already with him. So where do you need to look? In the here and now, right in front of you. In existential psychology, they approach our psychological struggles through an existential lens, meaning they look at the existence of a person, the crisis of existence. And every branch of psychology has an explanation for why people struggle. Existential psychology approaches the struggle of depression through this lens, and it says that depression is the gap between where you actually are and where you want to be. That they say depression is in this place between your present, the here and now, and where you think you should be. So what is that? It means that we created this idea of happiness in our minds, that is where I should be to be happy. That is what I should get to be happy. So all these shoulds and musts are where? In the future. But we are in the present. And so what we do is we disconnect from our present because it doesn't have anything to offer us. And we're not yet in the future because we're not yet there, but we're in this gap. And so existential psychology says depression is in this gap between where you actually are, where God has put you, and where you think you should be. And so we got to close this gap and start being where we actually are, where God has put us. So it is time to maximize what is right in front of us. It is time to strive towards the potential that God created for you uniquely, and to derive meaning and joy from the reality that exists in your life today. It is time to redirect your heart back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way that you never have before. It is time to align yourself spiritually, mentally, and emotionally with God and his truths. Everything that he has taught us through the Quran, through the teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So isn't it time? This is one of my favorite verses in the Quran. And when I find myself on cruise control, or I feel like I need to shift my heart, I go read this verse because I feel that God is directly speaking to me. And this is the way that I encourage people to read the Quran, is that when you read verses, don't read it as if God is speaking to the people of that time or Prophet Muhammad ﷺ alone. Read it as if he's talking to you. And God asks us a question in the Quran. He says, has the time not come for those who believed that their hearts should become humbly submissive to the remembrance of God and what has come from the truth? And let them not be like those who were given the scripture before and a long period passed over them, so their hearts hardened, and many of them are defiantly disobedient. So my brothers and sisters, I ask you, isn't it time? Isn't it time to redirect our hearts back to God? Isn't it time for us to just stop with the excuses? To really, submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Nothing else that we've submitted to works. Nothing else that we've prioritized over God works. We will find ourselves back into the same place over and over again. We will find ourselves malnourished, empty, numb, over and over again until we get that lesson that He has been trying to teach us from the beginning of time. Isn't it time? I want you for a moment to think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling you this personally, individually. Isn't it time? Isn't it time, my beloved, for you to come back, for you to redirect your heart back to me? Think of Allah like Him telling you that I have everything you need. Why are you directing your heart to all of these people who really are not in control of what you need? Why are you, in a future that is in my control? Why are you so preoccupied with an outcome and a future that is already in my control? Why are you distracted in prayer and thinking about the next thing when I'm in control of that thing? I want you to think about Allah telling you these things. I want you to think about Allah looking at you and saying, isn't it time? When will it be time? Are you guaranteed tomorrow? Are you guaranteed next week? We get signs all the time that nothing is guaranteed. We get signs all the time that there is no age for death. There is no, we don't need the day of judgment to come for our time to be over. It could be our time any minute, any second. The angel of death, he visits, so I read in our tradition that he visits the person, through each day. He visits us each day, meaning that, it's just a matter of when He's commanded to take our souls. So take a moment to really ask yourself, if not now, then when? And I want you to really think about Allah asking you this question, just you, isn't it time? And so it is time. Let us renew our intentions. Let us maybe even look at this webinar as a means of you redirecting your heart back to God. You saying, you know what? Alhamdulillah for this opportunity. Ya Allah, I'm going to take this as a means to really shift my heart, intend a new page for you today. Not tomorrow, not when the next New Year's come, not when Ramadan comes around. No, today, because today is a blessing. If He has given you today, it means that He sees potential in you. That's His love. That's His rahmah. That's Him saying, I see potential in you. Use it. I'm giving you another chance. But we take it for granted. Many people were not given that chance, but you were. I was. Alhamdulillah. So in this webinar, you will learn 3 key steps that are necessary for any spiritual, mental, and emotional growth you want to attain. That will positively shift and nourish your heart, inshallah. Will redirect your heart to God. Will help you feel more whole, enough, and empowered through your relationship with God and with yourself. And it will bring you more inner peace and fulfillment, and will contribute to you living your life truthfully and with excellence, inshallah. And may Allah allow all our hearts to receive these things today in this webinar. But make sure you stick around till the end, because I will be answering questions that are relevant to your spiritual, mental, and emotional health. And plus, I have 2 free gifts for you that I'd like to share with you, inshallah. I want to help you continue the journey of inner transformation and your psychological and spiritual wellness. So before I give you these 3 steps, I just want to let you know a little bit about myself and the work that I do. There are a lot of new people here in this webinar, so who are not familiar with me or the Home Institute. So I'd just like to introduce myself a bit. So my name is Marwa Sar, and I am a psychologist, educator, and founder of the Home Institute. And a little bit about my story. This has been, for me, a journey that it started many years ago. It started over 10 years ago. And it started when I wasn't even studying psychology. I was just interested in how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to our psychological experience. And so when I started studying Islam, I started really immersing myself at the age of 17. And I remember, when I would read the Quran, when I would study the seerah, when I would read tafsir, when I would study with my teacher, I remember what would really called my heart was how God spoke to our internal experience. And this was something that always spoke to me, even long, I remember even just growing up, I was very attentive to our inner world. That world fascinated me. So I feel like, alhamdulillah, I feel like Allah puts something in every person that makes them gravitate towards certain things in the world. And for me, I feel like Allah put something in my heart that made me really it called me to understanding people and people's inner world, And so I was really interested in navigating thoughts, emotions, experiences, and I wanted to understand that world. And so as I started studying Islam, I really immersed myself more and more in the self-help world and the psychology world, until I realized 3 years after doing pre-med that medicine was not for me, and that I really wanted to study psychology. It became really clear. And so I changed my major to psychology, and that's when I started formally studying psychology. And I continue to still immerse myself in the self-help world and the psychology world. So alhamdulillah, by the grace and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I've been able to study psychology for 10 years. I did my bachelor's, my master's, and my doctorate degree in psychology. And I really consider myself a constant student of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is my ultimate teacher. And I look at life as a path of, it's a school. I'm here to learn through everything that He puts me through life. So, I look at this work as my calling and my path, but I also look at it as I'm constantly learning. And that's why I really value collaborating. Over the years, I constantly consulted with scholars. When I developed my approach, when I developed my courses, I always consulted and asked questions, because I wanted to make sure that everything that I teach is Islamically sound and is, it promotes your spiritual wellness. And so, alhamdulillah, when I went to do my doctoral degree, I was able to conduct a study on an Islamic psychological approach to psychotherapy, which allowed me to really research and shed light on how Islam can contribute to psychology and psychological wellness. And this is what I really wanted to do, not only as a means of empowering the psychotherapy world and providing more literature out there that can help people understand how to work with Muslims, but I really wanted to do it also as a means of educating people about the power of Islam and how it speaks to our psychology, our design, and our wellness. Because I felt that as I was studying psychology, over the last 10 years, what happened was there was an increase in research that had to do with religion and psychology, but I didn't see a lot of Islamic integration. So there was Buddhism in psychology, Christianity in psychology, Judaism in psychology, but I wasn't really seeing a lot of literature on Islam and psychology. So I wanted to shed light on what Islam has to offer, because Islam has so much to offer. Because who knows us better than God? Who knows us better than the one who designed us? Who knows our psychological wellness and design better than the one who fashioned us? So I wanted to, provide a lens in which people can see, how Islam really speaks to all of these facets within us. How Islam speaks to our mind, our heart, our wellness, how the seerah, how Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, everything he has taught us really is about aligning ourselves spiritually, mentally, and emotionally with God and His truths. And so this path of navigating our psycho-spiritual design, I wanted to understand our design. I wanted to understand our psychological and spiritual system. It led to the development of the heart over mind and ego approach, where I talk about giving back the heart its rightful place as leader within our being. Throughout my work over the years, through working as a therapist with clients and through doing my research, I realized the harms of leading with our mind, with our ego, with anything other than our heart. And so this approach was a result of really understanding our design, and not only the entities of our design, but how should these entities within us interact with each other so that there is harmony. Right? Because you have so many systems within you. You have in the physical anatomy, don't we study that physical anatomy? Don't we study the respiratory system, the digestive system? Don't we study like how in this cardiovascular system, what is the main part of the system? The heart. Yes, there are other entities, but what is the main thing? The heart. In the digestive system, it's the stomach, even though there's a large intestine, the small intestine. In every system, there are entities, but there's always a center point, a lead, and there's always a flow. And so through my work and through my studies, I realized that, that we really have to lead from the heart in order for our psychological and spiritual system to be at peace. And so this was an approach that was developed as a result of that work. And this is the hadith that I have here is a hadith that really, supported this work, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, there lies within the body a piece of flesh. If it is sound, the whole body is sound. And if it is corrupted, the whole body is corrupted. Verily, this piece is the heart. In Islam, there's a constant direction towards the heart. There's a constant emphasis about the heart. There's a constant emphasis on making sure that this heart is sound and returns to God what? Sound. Qalbin salim, which also means whole. Salim means something that is complete, something that is whole, something that is sound. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a sound heart. And so one of the things that I teach when I teach the heart over mind and ego approach is that we need to lead from the heart so that we can walk towards God in all our conditions. Because when your ego is king, when your ego is the lead, you're going to only walk towards God only when you feel good. Only when you feel like you're getting that spiritual high. Only when you feel mentally and emotionally well. When your mind is king, you will only walk towards God only as far as your mind comprehends. Only when you understand. When you understand what God is doing, when you understand the tests, when you understand his wisdom. But then when you don't understand, you halt. You're like, wait, I don't get it. I don't understand this. Why did Allah say this? Why is God testing me? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why do good things happen to bad people? Then you halt. You can't walk towards God anymore because the mind is king. You want to make sure that your mind knows. And that means sometimes we worship the mind. But my brothers and sisters, when the heart is king, we walk towards God in all conditions. The heart sees what the mind cannot see. The eye of the heart sees what your physical eye cannot see. That is why we need to lead from the heart. And so my own journey with, everything that I teach and everything, that I offer, it is a result of my professional experience, a result of my education, but it is also rooted in my personal experience. Almost everything that I teach, I've had to work on for myself. And so this path, is what I share with you is not something that I tasted in a therapy room with other clients. It's also something I tasted in my own personal path. And one of the greatest epiphanies that I had in my life was that everything that I go through points back to me and God. And actually, it was years ago before I even started the God in Me program or the Home Institute or the Heart Over Mind Ego approach. I actually went and I saw this stand that had these bands, and they can do free engravements on them. And I said, can you please put me and Allah and put an infinity sign at the end, so it could show me that, beyond this journey, it's always been about, before, during, and after, it's always been about me and my Creator, me and my most beloved, me and the one who fashioned me, the one who I came from, the one who I return to, the one who has never left me. Everything I go through, it points me back to what he's teaching me about him, about my path, and about myself. And so I have this band as a reminder to always, just direct the eye of my heart back to me and him, because that's the constant relationship. And so throughout the years, throughout my work, alhamdulillah, I've been able to create, courses and programs that are rooted in my personal and professional experience, but, rooted in Islamic and psychological teachings as well. So far, if you're not familiar with my work, I teach a sacred self-love course, which is about navigating our relationship with ourselves in a way that is rooted in our relationship with Allah, holistic self-care, understanding self-care in a way that goes beyond, the Western ideology of self-care, which I feel is very limiting and makes the self the destination and not God. The Unmasking the Heart course, where we talk about tackling psychological barriers to our health, to our relationship with Allah, to our spiritual health. Anxiety and Piety, navigating the challenges of anxiety while walking towards God. Then I have the God in Me Psycho-Spiritual Program, which is my most long-term transformation program that is really designed to take you on a journey, a psychological and spiritual journey of implementing a lot of the concepts that will promote your spiritual, mental, and emotional wellness. And then we have my Fitra Reset Psycho-Spiritual Retreat, which is a retreat that I do in Medina and Mecca. And you could check that out at thehomeinstitute.org/Fitra Reset for the upcoming retreat, inshallah. And so you can join us. And so, alhamdulillah, throughout this work, I've tasted the sweetness of it personally. But as I started to teach, it was such you know, a beautiful, beautiful blessing from Allah to be able to see the effects of it also on other students, where when we start to really align ourselves and our inner world with Allah, that we start to see the benefits of it in our life. Because many of us have not even looked at aligning ourselves with God. We're just going through the motions. We're even disconnected from ourselves. And that's a big problem. So how can we even know what He put within us? How can we even know? All we're taught is tame your nafs, tame your nafs. Okay, but how do I interact with all these tools that Allah put within me? And so the more that I worked with students, the more that I found that the more they did this work and connected with themselves, the more that they were able to be propelled spiritually, mentally, and emotionally as well. Alhamdulillah. And so the heart over mind and ego approach is actually what inspired the name of the Home Institute. So Home here is after the heart over mind and ego approach. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Home Institute is a haven for your psycho-spiritual wellness, where I integrate psychology, spirituality, and Islam, where your spiritual, mental, and emotional wellness all matter. And so the Home Institute is inspired by the prophetic trait of the lighthouse, because the Home Institute seeks to be a haven for the hearts of others. And like a lighthouse, the lighthouse is a haven, right? It provides a safe space for people. So the Home Institute, it provides both virtual and physical spaces that foster holistic wellness through psycho-spiritual education and services that bridge Islamic traditional knowledge with the education and tools that will empower your spiritual, mental, and emotional health. And so it's just some of our values really quickly. Education, number one, the Home Institute seeks to be a resource for psychological and spiritual knowledge that is rooted in Islamic teachings through online and physical courses, programs, and retreats. The next main value is empowerment and support. I'm really big on, making sure that students feel supported and empowered through their educational experience. And that's why through all my courses and programs, I offer the opportunity for individual consultations, because I don't believe that we are meant to learn in isolation. I want to be able to be there to support students in their learning process so that they can really uniquely connect what they're learning back into their own life and implement it. Because as a teacher over the years, even when I was teaching in a college setting, I found that the students who were really able to apply what they're learning in their lives were the people who were connected to what they are learning individually. And so empowerment and support is a big thing, a big value of the Home Institute, that will empower your spiritual, mental, and emotional growth and provide you with the support and environment you need to feel seen, heard, nourished, and connected. Finally, a holistic approach and collaboration. The Home Institute values collaborating with Islamic scholars as well as mental health and wellness professionals to bring you education, empowerment, and support that is holistic in nature and that cultivates not only your religious and spiritual growth, but your overall well-being. And a key example of that is our Holistic Wellness Classroom, which allows you to learn from various qualified instructors throughout the year. You get access to a monthly online class each month with a new instructor, and you learn various topics that are relevant to your holistic wellness and are rooted in Islamic teaching. So collaboration is really important. I believe that we all need to learn from each other and benefit from each other. And so quick summary, so there's psycho-spiritual education, transformation program, and psycho-spiritual retreats. Okay. So Bismillah, let us start the journey right now, inshallah. So before I give you these 3 steps, there's an exercise that I really like to do, and this is visualization. In psychology, visualization is a key tool to help people achieve their goals and actually arrive at where they want to be. And so they say that in psychology, they say that the more you visualize the outcome, the positive outcome that you envision for yourself, the more that you actually will do the actions. You'll just be propelled to do the actions that are in line with that. And they say that once you connect deep, like you keep cultivating a mind that thinks about that vision, it actually sends messages to the rest of your body to act in accordance to that vision that you have set in your mind. So I want to connect your heart first. Before I just, feed you with these 3 steps, I want to connect your heart to this positive outcome. Why are you doing this? Basically, like, why are we doing this work? What is the goal? What is the outcome? What do we envision for ourselves? So I want you to take a moment and close your eyes. And I want you to really think about, what do you envision is the positive, what do you envision to happen if you were to have experienced inner transformation? If you had a better relationship with God and with yourself, how would your life change for the better? What would change? What do you envision changing? Would your relationships change? Would your the way that you react to experiences change? Would your acts of worship change? What do you envision for yourself? How would you feel internally? What do you envision for yourself if you were aligned spiritually, mentally, and emotionally with God and His truths? What do you envision happening in your life if you finally fully submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If you finally took back your power from everything that you've been giving, the power to make you feel complete, worthy, and happy? How strong would you feel? How grounded would you feel? How free would you feel? Take a moment to visualize the positive outcomes, the positive internal experience that you would feel if you were to do this work. With that, let us start. So these 3 steps, inshallah, that I'll be talking about, these 3 steps you can take towards inner transformation and psycho-spiritual wellness. They will empower your inner transformation, psycho-spiritual wellness. But first, it's important to understand that this journey is not about perfection. We're not looking to arrive at a place of, okay, I'm religious now, I'm spiritual now, I'm good now. No, this is a journey. And it's not a journey of perfection, but it's a journey of 3 things that I want to connect your heart to. It's a journey of wholeness, a journey of cultivating a whole heart, qalbin salim, that seeks to feel complete, enough, and sufficed through its creator, so that you live this world sufficed and nourished by Him, but so also you return to Him with qalbin salim. We know that on the day of judgment, nothing will benefit the son of Adam except one, not your children, not your wealth, will benefit you unless you come back to God with what? Qalbin salim, a whole heart, a sound heart, a heart that sought out its completion from the one who made it, a heart that was sufficed by its creator, a heart that felt that God was enough for its heart. And I want to ask you today, is God enough for your heart? Is God enough for you today? I know that there are things that you're waiting for Him to answer. I know that there are things that, you feel like you need in your life. Maybe if this happens for my child, maybe if I get this house, maybe if I get this job, maybe if I have more money. But the reality is, again, these things really don't contribute to you feeling sufficed. Regardless of those things, can you feel sufficed by God today? Can He complete you today? And He absolutely can if you open your heart to Him, for you to experience qalbin salim in the journey. Because you don't go back to Allah with qalbin salim if you did not cultivate qalbin salim in this world. This journey, my brothers and sisters, is not about perfection. It is about excellence, ihsan. A journey of striving for ihsan, excellence in your relationship with God, your acts of worship, and how you choose to live each day of your life. So that you're living your life knowing that Allah sees you in every moment, and you live up to that. You honor that experience where I know God sees me in this moment, so I have to give it my best. Not because people are watching, not because I want to look good, not because I should and I must know, just simply because the Creator, the King of Kings, is looking at me right now. And this journey, my brothers and sisters, is a journey of embodying and expressing truthfulness, sidq, relationship with yourself, with God, and with others. I put your relationship with yourself first because you cannot be truthful with Allah. You cannot be truthful with others if you're not truthful with yourself. So again, this journey is not a journey of perfection. It's a journey of wholeness, of excellence, and authenticity. So let us start. Step 1 that I would like for you to take away today is I would like for you to begin directing your mind and heart towards God's sufficiency. Our ability to feel enough and whole depends on our connection to the one who is complete. Human beings are not complete. Your experiences will never complete you. What you're hoping to get from, Allah gives you is not going to complete you. Meaning like the things that you're asking for, your du'as, the things that you feel you need in your life for you to feel complete are never going to suffice you. Only Allah can complete you. And this is why I don't like the concept of my other half, because it's, that concept is such an illusion, because only Allah can complete a person. What does that mean? That means that you can't be whole without another person? Yes, I believe people can complement us, right? But people do not really complete us. People can complement your journey to being complete with Allah. They can be there to support your journey to be whole through Allah. But the person itself is not the source of your completion, of your wholeness. And so we have to remember that only Allah can complete us. That thing that you want, that material thing, that job, that career, that spouse, that child, is never going to complete you. And so our ability, my brothers and sisters, to feel whole, to feel enough, to cultivate a whole heart, is through our connection to the one who is complete, to the one who is the source of everything we need, to the one who is most perfect. And so a tip that I like to do with my students is, to utilize this dua as a tool. This dua is a dua that we're taught in the Quran about God's sufficiency. In the Quran, we're taught, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. God is sufficient for us and He's the best disposer of affairs. So in another translation, it's God is enough for us. So again, back to the question I asked you, can God be enough for you today? Do you have the courage today to say, Ya Allah, regardless of what you have not given me, regardless of what you have withheld, regardless of what you have blessed me with or withheld, you are enough for me. You are all I need. And by the way, this does not mean that we do not need relationships. This does not mean that we are made to be alone. No, Allah created us in communities and we need to connect with others. But again, the destination is Allah. He is the source of my completion. They can complement and support our path, and that is important. But Allah is the one who completes. And I want you to take this step today, to lean into this courage of saying, Ya Allah, I know, because why I say courage is because it is so hard to let go of your wants, the things that you've been wanting for so long. And to say, Ya Allah, you are enough, even if I don't have it, even if you don't give it to me. You are enough for me today. I promise you that if you do this and you really lean into this and you really submit to Allah in such a way and you say, Ya Allah, regardless of what you have given me, regardless of what I'm waiting for, regardless of what you have given or withheld, you are enough. You will cultivate a relationship with Allah where He is your most beloved, where you cultivate a friendship with Allah, where He is the one you talk to, He is the one that suffices you, where He is the one that gives you happiness, the ultimate happiness and joy. And you will see how He allows your heart to walk away from that encounter. I encourage you after this webinar today to sit with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Think about what you're desiring. Think about what you're waiting for. Think about the things that you feel like you've been struggling with, the things that have been causing you pain, and let it go and try to think of, try to say, Ya Allah, you are enough. You are enough. And I encourage you to put your hand on your heart. Feel this most important part within you and just feel that connection. Allah is closer to you than the jugular vein. This is in the Quran. Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein. Jugular vein is the main vein that pumps blood into your heart. Without it, your heart won't be beating. Your Allah is closer to you than that. Closer to this most important part of you than that. And I want you to feel just this most important part of you and how it responds to Allah. And just keep saying, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. Hasbunallah. God, you're enough for me. God is sufficient for me. God is enough for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs. Isn't it interesting that in this verse, after we acknowledge that God is enough for us, that Allah tells us that He is the best disposer of affairs? What does that mean? Everything you just relinquished because He is enough, He's going to take care of. Everything that you have decided to put second to Allah, He will take care of. Everything that you've decided is not the destination, the one who is your destination is going to take care of it. And you will see. take a few moments today and do this. And, if it worked for you, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know if it worked. I would love to hear that it shifted your heart in a positive way. Let's go to the next step. Find the missing piece. When we don't feel enough, when we feel like we need something to make us feel complete, we have to figure out what that thing is. So for you to even do what I just asked you to do here, you have to figure out what it is. What is the missing piece that's contributing to your lack of peace? What is making you feel not enough, state of inadequacy? What is, contributing to your poverty mindset? The state of feeling incomplete, not whole, not good enough. What is that thing that you think will complete you? So in order for you to do that exercise that I said before about you relinquishing all those things, you have to figure out what it is. What is this missing piece? Because sometimes we haven't even reflected. We're just going through our day, going through the motions, waiting for something, waiting for an external shift. But we don't realize, what is it that I'm waiting for me to feel happier? Why is it, what's keeping me from really feeling good today? So I ask you to think about this reflection and ask yourself, I would, or tell yourself, I would feel more worthy and enough if what? What needs to happen? What are you waiting to receive? What is that missing piece that's contributing to your lack of peace? Identify it. Identify it, recognize it, see it, and then say, no, Allah is enough for me, regardless of me having it. No, I do not need this for me to feel worthy. I do not need this for me to feel enough. I do not need that validation from so-and-so for me to feel that it is enough. Allah sees it. Allah hears me. Allah knows my truth, even if another human being doesn't see my truth. So we need to start taking our power back and start seeing the power that God gives us. When Allah said, why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep saying that He is the all-hearing, the all-seeing, the all-knowing? Look at that validation. When you love someone, you want them to know that you see them, you hear them, you see their heart, you see what they're going through. But many of us read these ayat and we don't see the love. We don't see how Allah is telling us so many times, I see you, I hear you, I'm with you, and I'm the most powerful. I can give you what you want. None of these things that you're looking at, that you're looking for validation and hearing, to hear you, to see you, to validate you, they're never going to be what Allah can give you. So what is the eye of your heart fixated on that shaitan is deluding you to think can give you something when it can't? Figure it out. Figure what that missing piece is and take your power back. Give it back to Allah. Remember that He is the source of everything you need. Find this missing piece so that you can have peace. Find this missing piece so that you can attain peace with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brothers and sisters, as psychologists, one of the most beautiful things that I've learned throughout my career in working with people is that as Muslims, Allah gives us a gift that is so powerful. I worked with people who had broken relationships with their parents, who've never felt love from their parents, never felt safe, never felt secure growing up, never felt, they've just tremendous loss. And what it pointed me to is how beautiful Islam is, because through Islam, God gives us the opportunity to receive what we lost. If you never felt love from your parent, Allah is Al-Wadud, the most loving. If you never felt mercy in this world, Allah is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. If you never felt security, Allah is the one who gives the most security. And I want you to think about the seerah and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's not a coincidence that every time he had a caretaker, Allah took it away. That was the greatest example of Allah telling us that what you lose in this world, you can gain with Him. That what you lost emotionally, mentally, even physically, you can gain with Him. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he lost his father before he was born. He lost his mother shortly after. Then he lost his other caretakers, and he lost it, he lost his grandfather after he was given to his grandfather. And then later on in life, he lost his uncle. and he lost his wife. But early in childhood, when I look at early childhood development, and I like to look at the seerah through a psychological lens, I look at all this loss. But what was Allah doing? In the Arabic language, we say that the parent is Rabb al-Bayt, the caretaker of the house, Rabb, right? And we say Allah is what? Rabb al-Alameen. Sometimes we refer to Allah as what? Ilah, one second. We sometimes refer to Allah as Ilah. So meaning when it comes to the acts of worship. But other times we refer to Allah as Rabb. In Surah Al-Fatiha, what do we say? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. Right? So, when we first say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Rabbil Alameen, the Lord, the caretaker of the universe, not just one universe, all universes, all of the worlds, the ones we know of and the ones we don't know of. And so he is the Rabb. That quality of Rabb is the one who caretakes, the one who nourishes, the one who brings you up, the one who molds you and fashions you. So the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't have Rabb al-Bayt consistently, but Allah, that's because Allah wanted to be his ultimate and strongest. He wanted to direct him to his ultimate Rabb al-Alameen, the Lord of the universe, the Lord of the worlds. And so why I'm saying this is because whatever you felt you lacked in life, whatever you feel like you lost in the past, whatever you feel like you didn't have the opportunity to do, whatever you feel like you're missing emotionally, you can gain it with Allah. He is the source of all your peace. He's As-Salam. He's the source of all your nourishment. He's the source of all your love, Al-Wadud. He is the source of all your rahmah and mercy, Ar-Rahman. He is the source of all your gifts, Al-Wahhab. So this is the hope. Allah says, with Allah there is hope. With Shaitan, he promises you loss. Shaitan wants to keep people fixated on the past so that they can fixate on what they lost. Allah wants you to focus on what you have to gain, what you have to hope for. Hope is the antidote to depression. Depression is mostly about staying in the past, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of, what if, what could have, should have, would have, right? Allah is about instilling positivity in your heart, that whatever you lost, you can gain. Even in Surah Al-Duha, Allah tells us, right, that what is to come is better than what is past. That He always, throughout the Quran, He's reminding us that whatever we lose, He'll replace. Whatever we lost, He will give us. Nothing is ever lost in vain with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is an opportunity to renew your page with Allah and to start thinking about how can I, every experience in life, and this is something I learned in my own journey from one of my teachers, is that every test we go through is a means to learning an attribute of Allah that He's trying to teach you. Every test, every struggle is pointing you to a name of Allah that He wants you to access. So if you feel unloved, it is time for you to connect to Al-Wadud. If you don't feel compassion, if you struggle with self-compassion and you're very self-critical, you're very harsh, maybe you grew up with a very harsh parent, then it's time for you, those who are pointing you to experience the Ar-Rahman. Whatever you have lost, whatever you feel like is not making you feel enough, worthy, whole, you have the opportunity to gain it and to receive it with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is the greatest gift that Allah has given us with Islam. That is why we should feel, when we say Alhamdulillah for Islam, we should feel it in our heart. He gave us hope. He gave us truth. He gave us an opportunity to derive meaning from everything we go through. Existential psychology says that people suffer, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And that people suffer when they cannot derive meaning from their pain. What does Allah do for us other than give us meaning for every pain? If you are pricked by a thorn, that is a wiping out of your sins. If you are tested, that is an elevation for you, inshallah, in this dunya and in the akhirah. Everything has meaning with Allah, but without Allah, nothing has meaning. And you don't gain, and not only in this world, but not in the next. Step 3, gift yourself with presence. The present is a gift, and it was one of the greatest gifts. Without being present, we deprive ourselves from being nourished by what God put right in front of us. Malnourishment leads to inadequacy, not feeling enough, not feeling whole, a lack of empowerment and motivation. You cannot connect to God nor yourself if you're not in the present. I always say this to my students, the presence is a sacred space. You cannot connect to God if your mind is in the past or your mind is in the future. Allah is with you. Not that Allah is confined to a time and place, but you cannot connect to God if you're in any of those places. You need to be in the here and now. Your heart needs to be in this moment for you to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so a tip that I give people, is to spend time in the quietness, in the stillness. If you're always around noise, if every time you get in your car, you pick up the phone, you have to listen to something, you're not allowing for your heart to be present with Allah. You're not allowing for your heart to be the lead within your being. Spend time in the stillness. Pick a nature spot that you love. Do not bring headphones or call anyone. Increase your tolerance to being comfortable in the quietness, in the stillness. Use your mind to reflect on the reality in front of you in the here and now so that your heart is activated. Reflection is what activates the heart. And if you feel like your mind is wandering off in the past or the future, recenter yourself. Remember, you can be someplace and you can exist in that place, but not experience that place. Many of us go to beautiful places, beautiful nature spots, we're maybe around people that we love, but we're only existing, we're not experiencing. You know what the difference is? To experience the place that you are in, to experience a conversation, to experience the beauty around you, your heart needs to be present. And your heart cannot be present if your mind is off in the future and the past. In my heart over mind and ego approach, I teach that the mind needs to be the servant of the heart. If it's off somewhere else, it can't serve the heart. It can't fuel the heart. So take some time, spend some time, go out today. Even if it's go spend some time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala where you are just still, quiet. If prayer is the only time where you are quiet and still, your prayers, you're not going to maximize your prayers. Build the muscle of being in the stillness so that when you go into prayer, you're not distracted. It's not uncomfortable for you. And so take time today, go out for a walk, spend some time in nature. Even if you can't go out, pick a corner of your house that is quiet and just sit with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Spend a few moments with Him after prayer. Don't just get up and leave. Practice gifting yourself with presence. Practice cultivating the muscle of presence in your life. And so with that, those are the 3 steps that I really believe are the foundation of inner transformation. Because if you can cultivate a present heart, you can begin actually deriving nourishment from your acts of worship, from your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you are present with your emotions, your thoughts, and how you can make them a means to Allah rather than the destination. When you are present, you are more at peace. You're more connected to your breath, your body, which are already in here and now. Your body is already submitting to Allah. This is why in mindfulness, they do breathing exercises, subhanAllah, because breathing exercises remind you that you're alive in the here and now. This breath Allah gave you, it's not a coincidence. It means that you're here. You're not in the future, not in the past. You're in this moment, alive in this moment. These steps are the key to any spiritual, mental, and emotional wellness, because if you're not present, you cannot benefit from anything. If you do not seek your wholeness from Allah, you're going to be a scattered brain, mentally cluttered, always looking to everything else. Oh, maybe that will help me feel better. Maybe that will make me feel good. And then you'll try all these things. You'll spend your money on so many things. And, especially in this world where online shopping, many people, I work with people who, for them, just buying something new is what makes them feel good. Makes them feel good right away. And then they're constantly spending their money on things that they think is going to be the next thing that makes them feel good. But you're going to be scattered, mentally cluttered, and not deriving anything. And still, no matter all the stuff you have, no matter all the ease and comfort, you're still going through the motions, not deriving nourishment, not feeling whole, enough, empowered, and not really experiencing any inner transformation. So these are the 3 steps I wanted to share with you. And these are actually 3 steps that I share in my God in Me program. In the God in Me program, I share 21 steps it's a 21-step God in Me guide. each step is full of a wealth of material on how to implement that step. And so the 3 steps I just shared you are actually 3 key steps that are part of my the God in Me Psycho-Spiritual Transformation Program, which is about feeling more whole, enough, and nourished through the 2 most important relationships in your life, which is with your relationship with God and with yourself. Back to what I said about the God in Me band. SubhanAllah, back then I didn't know that I was going to be starting the God in Me program, but I actually named it the God in Me program. That band and that experience I had where everything pointed me back to my relationship with God and myself is what inspired the name of the program and what I teach. So everything goes back to your relationship with Allah. That's the constant. Everything else is going to change, but that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is constantly pointing you to. And so, the 3 core values of the program are wholeness, excellence, and authenticity. The God in Me Psycho-Spiritual Transformation Program is not a journey of perfection. It's a journey of us cultivating a whole heart, striving towards ihsan, excellence in everything we do, not just in our relationship with God, but our relationship with people, in our acts of worship, the way that we are present with God through each day, and through authenticity, cultivating truthfulness, expressing truthfulness. Are we truthful with ourselves? We know that lying to other people is wrong, but many of us lie to ourselves. And it's because we're disconnected from ourselves. So this program is actually about teaching you about your design, your psychological and spiritual design, the heart over mind and ego approach, so that you can regain that connection to yourself. You are His creation too, and you are a means to Him. If you're disconnected from yourself, you're only practicing, you're not experiencing. And so you need to experience in order for you to grow. Your heart needs to be connected. And so my vision for the God in Me program is about providing education and empowerment that is Islamically and spiritually focused, but does not negate your mental and emotional experience. I always care about how your heart interacts with what your mind is absorbing, because many of us have acquired a lot of information. We've taken class after class, but I look at what's causing that gap. Why is it that our heart is still feeling numb? Our heart is still feeling empty. We're still on cruise control, even though we live in an age where we have access to a wealth of information. Why aren't we seeing the fruits of our knowledge in our life? And so I look at, how does the heart interact with the mind? How can the mind serve the heart through the heart over mind and ego approach? And so I care about how your thoughts, emotions, your psychology impact your heart and spiritual journey, because your spiritual journey it definitely interacts with your psychological experience. Everything that has made you who you are, your past experiences, your traumas, your difficulties, your, everything, your custom tailored tests. And so it's where spirituality, your mental and emotional wellness all matter. This program is not, information overload without guidance and support on how to apply what you're learning in your own unique life. It's not a course that's just for your mind about acquiring information. Again, I wanted to create something that was a unique experience where people can actually feel and experience the fruits of what they are learning. Because I felt like, as a therapist also, when I worked with clients, I felt like, why is it that we're not changing? And also as a teacher, and when I teach these courses and programs, I see that the students that are really able to change are the students who go through, they're not just absorbing, but they're doing the exercises. They're really interacting with the material. They're really prioritizing their heart over their nafs, not just, I want to feel good, And this is something you learn when you seek knowledge, is that it's not just about feeling good. It's about doing the work that will allow you to see the fruits of that knowledge in your life. So this is not knowledge without guided reflection and application. This is not spiritual growth without importance for your mental and emotional well-being. And this is not religious knowledge without a focus on how you personally think and feel about God and your faith as a whole. Your faith matters, your spirituality matters, and your psychology matters. And so this is the God in Me program. A little bit about why I really believe in this program. This program is that it focuses on your spiritual growth and takes into account your psychology. You gain the knowledge, tools, and support to feel enough, whole, and empowered through your relationship with God and with yourself. And you focus on these 2 most important relationships in your life. So you start taking back your energy from all of these things that kept you cluttered, scattered, unnourished, and you start focusing on what really matters. Your relationship with God and with yourself impacts everything else. And so in this program, you will learn how to settle more into yourself, feel more peace and control, feel more content with how God designed you, begin utilizing the strengths He put within you. The quality of your acts of worship won't be the same. Your relationship with God will become the main source of happiness, wholeness, and peace as it was designed. You'll feel more presence in your relationships. You'll feel more liberation, spiritual, mental, and emotional liberation. And you'll feel like you want to strive towards your potential. After you've decluttered all of this, energy that you've put into other things that didn't matter, now you focus in on spending your energy on how I can be utilized, how I can maximize my time, how I can walk towards Allah grounded, hardworking, really proactive, not passive, not complacent. So you start really directing your energy towards the things that will nourish you, the things that will actually give you something back, not all the things that only gave you something temporary. Your nafs felt good, but your heart got nothing. And so this program is a program that I really, invested my heart into creating a really unique program design. And so with this program, you get lifetime access to the entire educational program full of video lessons. It gives you a comprehensive learning experience because I wanted to change the way people learn. I wanted to shift people from learning just where the mind is king to the heart is king. Learning in a way where the heart is a priority. And so you get a program in which, gives you video lessons, exercises, readings, writings. So you're really going through a journey, a psychological and spiritual journey that is designed to transform you internally. And so you get my 21-step God and Me guide booklet, which has a wealth of information. What you just saw in those 3 steps, they're expanded upon significantly. Each step not only gives you more knowledge, information about it, but then you get techniques on how to implement that step further. You get my Heart Over Mind and Ego booklet, which takes you in an in-depth journey on how to apply my Heart Over Mind and Ego approach. You have the opportunity for individual and group guidance. With individual consultations and group consultations. You get a tailored program where you take a pre and post analysis that assesses the 3 core areas of the program: your relationship with yourself, your relationship with God, and your psychological and spiritual wellness habits, the habits that you engage in that promote your spiritual, psychological wellness. And so you take that in the beginning, and I assess that for every student, and I conclude, what are the areas of growth for every person in for their psycho-spiritual wellness. And then I outline a plan for them that highlights these core areas that I want them to work on throughout the program. You get tools, exercises to apply what you're learning. And weekly, like in the module, each module you'll get a bunch, you'll get, like I said, video lessons, readings, but also these exercises that are really designed to help you connect to what you were learning in the video lessons. Okay, so you watched the video, you understood it on one level. Then you maybe have to do an exercise that really takes you on understanding that concept on a deeper level. That's what allows for people to change, is when they keep revisiting the material. Not just going through, alhamdulillah, I have information and I'm done. No, how did your heart interact with what your mind received? The companions would take a few verses at a time, implement them, and come back. And this is why my program, it's designed on a 21-week, so 3 weeks for every module, for every one of the 7 modules. And you only get access to the next module after 3 weeks, every 3 weeks. And I designed it this way because I know the world we live in. We just want information, move on, done. No, you have 3 weeks and you sit with that knowledge, sit with that material, do the exercises. You have 3 steps, 1 step for every week. Sit with it, implement it. Do what the Sahaba did. They prioritize implementation. This is what will lead to true transformation, my brothers and sisters. It's not about filling your mind. It's about filling your heart. It's not about walking away with a mind that is full. It's walking away with a heart that is full. So, and then you get access to private Facebook support group where I do live Q&As when I receive questions from students, and I address them in the Facebook support group. But you also get, with the Diamond membership, you get 1 year free membership to the Holistic Wellness Classroom, the one I mentioned earlier, where you get an online class every month. This is actually, Diamond members of the program get this for free to help support their learning journey and get the opportunity to learn from various qualified instructors on several topics that are rooted in Islamic teachings and promote our holistic wellness. And so this is actually the Heart Over Mind and Ego booklet that's only available now to the God in Me students. It's not yet available to the public. And so at the end, I actually, so when a student finishes the program, I will ship you your own God and Me band. So you have a band, the same band that I have. And so that it's just kind of like, a reminder that this work is a journey and that everything you go through goes back to your relationship with Allah and with yourself. And so you might ask yourself, why not just pray more? Why not just increase my acts of worship? Well, then that would have worked. So many people, are just checking off their obligations. Spiritual growth is not just about gaining religious knowledge or increasing the quantity of acts of worship. Yes, increasing your acts of worship is important, but it's about assessing how your psychological experience is interacting with your spiritual experience, assessing how you interact with the knowledge and the worship every step of the way. And with guidance and support, we can see aspects of ourselves that we're blinded from. Sometimes, to change, to grow, you need other people to point out things that you cannot see. So working with someone helps you see yourself and your challenges in a light that you have never seen before. And this is very, very important. And so it's very easy, and this is a tactic of shaitan, by the way. Whenever we're about to take a step, we spend so much time and money and energy on so many things. But once we start to take a step towards Allah, he says, oh, you don't need this. You could just go pray more. You don't need to go to this retreat. You could just, do more dhikr. And the things that you could have been doing all along, right? But shaitan he's not going to come to you and say, don't do this. He's going to always package things in a beautiful way where you're deluded. And so it's very common for people to want to take a step towards Allah, and shaitan will make them think that it's not valuable. This work really matters. It's so important. And it's the thing that is most worthy of our investment in our life. So another thing that comes to people's minds, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough, I can't, like that poverty mindset, that shaitan mindset, right? Like that shaitan whispering, where like, you can't do this. Well, you go do this instead. Go do that instead. SubhanAllah, one of the things that really, I remember, contributed to this, this belief that I have where shaitan will do this is, I remember one time I had the opportunity to give charity and I said, I'm going to give charity later, right? And subhanAllah, I ended up spending the same amount of money that I was going to spend in charity on material things, right? And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, subhanAllah, that money that I was going to spend in charity, that I was hesitated to spend in charity, I ended up spending on things that don't give me a reward in this dunya or the akhirah. This is how shaitan works. He'll say, you're going to invest in your spirituality, your spiritual wellness, your growth, your path to Allah. No. You don't need to. You don't need to. It should be free. It should be go do something else. Go spend it on this. And then you find that same money you went and spend it on other things that didn't give you any long-term results, that did not lead to your completion with Allah, that just made you feel good temporarily. And then you continued in the cycle of all the things that you are struggling with. And I've seen this time and time again. So there's nothing more important than your relationship with God and with yourself. It's actually our lack of work on our relationship with God and ourselves that causes us to waste so much of our time and our potential. And we spend our time and money on all forms of self-care, from gym memberships, entertainment, to spas, vacations, but we hold back on investing in our relationship with God and ourselves because we think that should just come naturally and for free. And that is so wrong. When we look at the old times, people used to sell their wealth on the path of knowledge. People used to sell their belongings so that they can go study under people, and nowadays we just feel like, well, I could just, because of all the access of information, we're like, oh, I'll just get it for free. But when you invest in something, you value it. And shaitan will always come and say, don't invest. And I've seen this in my own life, when I came to invest, I invested in the past in so many things that I felt I needed spiritually. And every time I was about to, I always felt like there was always this thought that shaitan was about, and I had to almost do that rip the Band-Aid thing, which I teach a lot about these moments where you have to rip the Band-Aid and just do it Nike, because if you don't, shaitan will make you think of a million ways where that's not going to offer you anything. But yet when we come to do things that are just material or whatever, it's so easy for us to invest. We're like, okay, so I feel like we have to pay attention to these things. Before I give you your free gift, I want you to check in with your heart. How do you feel so far? You know, how do you feel about what you learned today? Did it benefit your heart? Did you feel like these steps really, you know, shifted you positively, allowed you to see your path in a different perspective? Did it give you hope? You know, how did it shift you from the beginning of this video? Check in with your heart, connect with yourself, see how you're feeling. You know, don't just go through the motions. This path is always about checking in with your heart. How did I respond? How did my heart respond to what I just learned? How did I experience what I just learned? How did my heart feel? So my gift to you is that, you know, now after you've watched this webinar, you can go ahead and schedule a free 30-minute call with me. I want to hear about your challenges with yourself, with your creator, and we could talk a little bit more about what you need to do to propel yourself spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Also, with the God in Me program, I give you a free course of your choice. You know, you've seen my courses that I offer. With the Diamond membership, you can choose a free course of your choice to also take with the Diamond membership in the God in Me program. So to schedule your free 30-minute call, just please go to, please go to thehomeinstitute.org, god-me.program, and you'll see the link shortly. Just please know that with the God in Me program, seats are limited. Because of the individualized nature of the program, I can only take a limited amount of students at a time, because I have to make sure that I have the time to invest individually for every student. And so just please understand that, I evaluate applications on a first come, first serve basis. And so, inshallah, I hope you join the God in Me tribe full of wonderful students who are transforming their relationship with God and themselves. I'm very happy to have just an amazing group of students. And the reason actually I do these 30-minute calls, I don't do these 30-minute calls for any other course or program, is because this God in Me program is the most comprehensive program. I consider the students in it my lifetime students, and I want to make sure that it's a good fit for you, but I also want you to have an opportunity to make sure that it's, I want you to make sure it's a good fit for you, and I want to make sure you're a good fit for the program, because whoever I accept into the program, I want to make sure, are fitting with that journey. Alhamdulillah, we have a great group of students who are just supportive of one another, and that's the environment I want to foster. Again, back to the Home Institute's vision, empowerment and support, where other students, it's not a judgmental space. It's about connecting with other people who are doing this work with you. And so on the God in Me program page, you will see that below the video, you will see that there's a app you can apply to the God in Me program and get your 3-minute call. And please ask me about my fast action discount, inshallah. So right now you have two choices. You can choose to do nothing, but if you do nothing with the information you've learned over the last hour, what will you get? Nothing. If you don't take any step, nothing will change. Nothing will change spiritually, mentally, emotionally, or in your life. Or you can choose to take a leap of faith, test it out, and see if it will work for you. I really believe in this program, and I believe in what it can do in really transforming. This is a program that was a product of a decade of work, and my heart is in it, and I value every heart that comes to this program, because I believe there's no work that is more important than transforming the relationship that we have with Allah and with ourselves. And so claim your seat now. You can go to thehomeinstitute.org, God in Me program, under the video. This video will be on that page. And under this video, you will see the link to apply, inshallah. And so with that, I would like to now take some time to answer your questions. Okay, so first question is, salam, wa alaikum salam. Intentions are big. My intention from attending the webinar is to get help and lift myself up. How would I change my intention to seek Allah? Okay, so one of the things I teach in the God in Me program is this concept called intent to ascend, okay? And this is actually one of the steps in the God in Me program, and it's because I want to teach people how to elevate themselves through intentions. So through intentions, we ascend our souls, we elevate our souls. We know that one of the most well-known hadiths is what? Al-a'malu bin-niyat, that verily every action is by what? Your intentions. Intention gives you the power to receive value beyond the moment that you do it. So one thing I do is I tell people to figure out what their truth is. What is your truth for attending this webinar, for attending anything? You know, what is your truth? And so then try to see how you can align that, elevate that intention, intend to ascend, meaning that your intention has some value on this level, but when you align it with Allah, it has more value. So this example, you said you intended this webinar to get help and lift yourself up. I want you to connect it to Allah, to something that is pleasing to Allah. Ya Allah, attending this webinar is a means of seeking your pleasure because you love those who seek you. You love those who are trying to get close to you. This is, Ya Allah, I am seeking you. Ya Allah, I want to get help so that I can empower myself towards you. It's about taking this basic intention and making Allah the destination, not the help that you want to achieve, not lifting yourself up. That's not the destination. The destination is Allah. So Ya Allah, I'm seeking this webinar. I'm seeking this knowledge. I'm seeking these tools because I'm seeking you. Because Ya Allah, I want you to be pleased with me. You know, I want you to think about Allah seeing you. I want you to think about Allah accepting this act from you. Know that this matters. That's why I started this webinar by saying this matters. You know, Allah sees this. This is something you're getting rewarded for. We can't just be fixated on what this dunya is doing. We have to fixate on what Allah is doing for us in the akhirah, what Allah is doing for us in the unseen. So for example, my brothers and sisters, you know, we know from our tradition that the angels will search the universe for gatherings in which people come together for the sake of Allah to remember Allah. Did we not remember Allah in this video? We did. So inshallah, angels are sitting with us. Inshallah, that they have gathered around. They gather around. They go wherever the remembrance of Allah, you know, wherever Allah is being remembered. And so I know this is a virtual gathering, but inshallah they are here too, you know. And after that gathering, you know what happens? The angels go up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they say, Ya Allah, they basically name us by name. So I look at the participants who joined us today and they will name inshallah each of you. And you'll say, Ya Allah, you know, so-and-so attended today. So-and-so, you know, remembered you today. We're part of this gathering. And Allah will say, you know, basically that, you know, He will reward those people who gathered for the sake of Allah, who gathered to remember Allah. And so we have to remember these things. So when you come to these things, intend for Allah, intend to be rewarded from Allah, seek Allah. You know, whatever, yeah, you want transformation. Why do you want transformation? So Allah will be pleased, so that I could walk towards Allah, so that I can improve my acts of worship, so that I could return to Allah with a sound heart. You see, this is how you can change your intention to seek Allah. The companions were known as tujar niyat. They were like the traders of intentions, meaning for one action they were doing, they would sit and think about how they can intend it in different ways for the sake of Allah. So you could be doing one thing, for example, cooking for your children. You could be saying, Ya Allah, I am cooking so I could take care of the trust that you have given me. And that is pleasing to you, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, I'm cooking so I could take care of my family, because that is pleasing to you, Ya Allah. You know, I'm cooking so I can make a meal that is tayyib, that is wholesome for my family, so they don't eat something that is not tayyib, that is not wholesome, and that is pleasing to you, Ya Allah. So you could think of so many ways that you could be doing one thing to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Next, I hope that answered your question, inshallah. So next question is, Assalamu alaikum, Jazakallah khairan for offering us this powerful knowledge. Wa alaikum salam and wa iyaki. I'm almost 40 and I have been going through a lot of challenges during the last 3 decades since I lost my parents. I'm very sorry for your loss. Allah yarhamhum, may Allah have mercy upon them and grant them the highest Jannah, inshallah. Unfortunately, I never had a good mentor since that incident, and I was hurt and taken advantage of by people I trusted. I feel hurt, grieving, and lost all this time. But I'm ready to move on and don't know where to start. And after a lot of effort put into healing, I feel it is not enough. Where do I start to find closure? Whatever I do, I haven't been able to satisfy the inner child's need for love, approval, and grief. It's too long since, and now I feel I can't make the changes because I have this family that needs me. But all I feel would help is a fresh start after taking enough time to heal. That is just not an option. So, first of all, I want you to just take a moment to know that Allah sees every ounce of your pain. He knows this journey is not easy. He sees your hurt, your grief, your feelings of being lost. And he sees you striving. The fact that you are even here today is a means, is a sign that Allah loves you. Allah, if you want to know where you are with Allah, look at the things you are doing. If you're here trying to improve, trying to empower yourself, that is a sign of Allah's love. That is a sign that He wants to give you, And so, again, back to what I was saying earlier, whatever you lost, whatever you have missed out on, whatever He took away from you, you have the opportunity to gain it with Him. Whatever you lose in this world, you can gain with Allah. And I want you to think about what you're missing right now. You feel you need love. I want you to connect to Al-Wadud, that He is the source and creator of all the love you seek and all the love you need. I want you to connect to that. Spend some time today to think about what you're really needing, what you wish your parent could be here to give you. And I want you then to direct it towards Allah and ask Him to give it to you. He will give it to you, inshallah. He is the one who created your parents. SubhanAllah, it always makes me emotional because one of the things that makes me really see Allah's love and rahmah is the love of, a mother has towards her child. And when I see people who lose their parents and they're missing that love, I want to remind them that, yes, your parents are Rabb al-Bayt. They are the caretakers of your house. In Arabic, what I was saying before. But Allah is Rabb al-Alameen. He's your greatest Rabb. He is the one that can give you what your parents could never even give you. And look at the Prophet ﷺ. He lost all his caretakers, but he was so nourished through the love that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him. So much so that he'd be spending the nights praying, even though he would be guaranteed Jannah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And Aisha would ask him, basically like, why is he doing so much when he's already guaranteed Jannah? What was the Prophet's response, sallallahu alayhi wasallam? Shouldn't I be a thankful servant? That is the response of one who is in a relationship with the one he loves. Is that you know that He is the one who's constantly giving you. It's not about checking off obligations. It's about, no, I have more to receive from Him. And I have to thank Him because He's always giving me. So to the person who sent this question, I just want to remind your heart that whatever you feel you don't have today in your heart, Allah has the power to give it to you. Allah has the power to suffice your heart, to fill your heart with love. And inshallah, this is a means of renewal and a means of you going back to Him in a way where He is your most beloved. He is your most powerful caretaker, your Rabb, Next question. I'm constantly worried or fearful of God replacing me with someone better. I sometimes work myself to frenzy until my family need to calm me down to remind me to slow down. I feel broken inside when it comes to knowing my limits and struggle to let go of bad habits. Balance is very key. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want us going to any opposite extremes, okay? And I'll tell you this, the more you do this work where you focus on your relationship with Allah, it takes work. Sometimes people ask, these questions about how do I get there? How do I get there? It takes time. It's a path of doing this work consistently. And this is why I stress like the God in Me program, because people want change right away, but you don't get change right away until you put in the work and you're patient with your heart as you are patient with your nafs. So our nafs, we feed it so many times. When we come to do the work, we want instant results. Come on, heart, snap, feel. But we're supposed to be patient with our heart. And so when you do this work and you start focusing on your relationship with Allah, you start focusing on prioritizing, transforming this relationship with Allah and with yourself, you start walking more grounded on this earth. You start knowing where to expend your energy and when to withhold, but it's for Allah. It's not so much about the people. We go to extremes when it's about the people. I want you to consider that maybe you're afraid of people's disapproval of you. Maybe you're working so hard so they do not say, oh my gosh, she didn't do enough. And I want you to know that Allah replacing you with someone better will not have anything to do with somebody saying that you didn't do enough. It has nothing to do with the people. Allah is not going to replace you with someone better if you are doing the work. if you are putting the effort. So I want you to, I want to challenge you, the person who asked this question, I want you to ask yourself, is it really about Allah or is it about the people? Am I afraid of displeasing the people? Am I afraid of falling short for the people? Am I afraid of changing their opinion of me? This work is what helps you see clarity between your intentions for Allah purely and your intentions for the people. The more you do this work, the more you will walk this earth more grounded, more, elevated, more confident. You're not going to play small anymore. You're not going to do fake humbleness. You're not going to not utilize your strengths. You're not going to work yourself to exhaustion to please the people when and still think you're not enough. No, you're going to understand the difference between what you're doing for Allah and what you're doing just so you can have the people approve of you. This is what this work does. Next question. Sometimes we work hard to focus on being content and whole before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with what we have. But often people around us and their views and negativity can make you fall back and feel otherwise. Do you have any tips on what we can do to strengthen ourselves, not to be affected by them, as sometimes you can't get away physically, especially when it's close family, so you still want to maintain good relations? So do you have any tips on what we can do to strengthen ourselves and not be affected by them? I think I really, so I think it goes back to what I was just saying from the previous question. It's really about doing this work. It's about taking your power back. A lot of us come from interdependent cultures where depending on other people's opinion of us is to the extreme. And I'm not saying that independent culture is better than interdependent culture. I don't believe Western culture is better than Eastern culture. Western culture is more independent, Eastern cultures are more interdependent, right? And I actually believe opposite extremes are both not good. I believe Islam teaches us to be independent when it's pleasing to Allah and when it serves our path to Allah, and to be interdependent when it is pleasing to Allah and when it serves our path to Allah. So this is what I will say to this question, is that when you do this work of prioritizing Allah, you take your power back, the power that you gave to other people to make you feel less than about what you're doing. The power you gave other people to affect you so much. You will realize that their effect will have it will be less. Actually, on the God in Me program page, there's a video about, some of the experiences of the students in the program. And one of the students says that part of doing this work is that they started caring less about what people say, started caring less about people's approval. It's from doing this work. It's almost like you're strengthening a muscle within you that you didn't know how to access before. And back to my point about interdependent culture, sometimes it's the extreme where you're taught to be so sensitive to everybody else's needs that you disconnect from yourself. So you don't know what you want, you don't know your intentions, you don't know why you're doing this for, you're just programmed to be connected to everybody else's response. That sometimes you even speak, not because it's truthful, but because it's going to earn the pleasure of other people. And I'm not saying you're lying. I'm just saying you're just saying what sounds right, but not what's really true, And so, I'm not talking about an outward lie, but I'm talking about when you just say things like, for example, you invite people over because you want to look hospitable, but really you're in a place in your life where maybe your house is a mess. You can't invite people over right now. Maybe your situation, there's renovations. Maybe your children need you right now. You can't invite people, but you say these things because you want to sound hospitable, because sometimes we come from a culture where the way we appear is more important than what we actually feel and experience inside. And so doing this work, it filters out truth. That's why I said this is a journey of truthfulness, of sidq, which is a key ingredient of tazkiyah and the path to Allah, is that truthfulness. You realize what you're doing, why you're doing it, and truth is the most important thing. And you see this when you study the seerah. The companions, they spoke up, they carried themselves, they were confident. They did not, their priority was Allah. They didn't care about, how they appeared. They didn't try to be fake humble. They didn't try to monitor other people's impression of them. The more you do this work, the more you will know the difference between doing something for Allah and doing something for monitoring the impressions of other people. And so the more you do this work, the less effect that other people will have on you. Finally, last question is, My salams and du'as for you and your family, Dr. Marwa. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. Please do keep me in your du'a. First time I'm using Zoom for a webinar, so just pop the question straight in and forgot the most important etiquette of conveying my salams. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for, so I guess you asked the question before then. Jazakallah khair, and no worries. Thank you for your du'a. And then one person asked for the Godemy program, is it a self-learning program? Yeah, so you go through the program at your own pace and your own time. I give you lifetime access to the program. There's no rush. It's a step-by-step program. All the material, you go through the material at your own time and pace, because I know everybody has their own lives, their own schedules. I have students not, from all over different, time zones. So you have your material and you can go with it at your own pace. And then you can schedule, depending on the membership you choose, you can schedule your individual consultation with me at your own time and convenience. And then you could also attend up to 21 group consultations, which are small groups with only 3 to 5 people, so that you're learning with other people and you're getting a closer time to process that information and that knowledge, so you can have a deeper connection to it. We have one last question. I'm quite young. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum salam. I'm quite young and I've got a ton of ideas to get close to Allah. There's this belief that everything has to be perfect before I'm close to Him. How can I escape this frustration that binds me down all the time? So if you had joined earlier, I talked about how important it is to not approach this path as a path to perfection. It's not a perfect path. It's not a path of I have to arrive at perfection. Actually, it's the perfectionist mindset that I feel is a tactic of shaitan. He makes you think that things have to be perfect for you to walk towards Allah. But the concept that I teach in the Godemy program is walking towards God in all our conditions, in our imperfection, when we don't know, when we don't feel good, when we don't feel the spiritual high. This is the goal. This is what Allah loves. It's not that you be perfect and then you walk. It's not that you have all the hijabi clothing and then you wear hijab. It's not about having the perfect environment and then praying. No, it's about walking towards God in all your conditions. It's actually when you walk to Allah broken, imperfect, just in your vulnerable state. Allah does not expect perfection from you, but He expects that you keep walking towards Him. Whatever you have, you carry towards Him. And this is something I work on with you in the Godemy program, about focusing less on perfectionism and focusing on being whole, striving with excellence, not perfection, excellence, and being truthful. Do you get the material in hard copies the old-fashioned way? So you do. You get it all on the course. This God and Me Psycho-Spiritual Program is an online program, and so you get it all on the course platform online. But I do have the Fitra Reset Retreat in Medina and Mecca. We leave from JFK in New York, and in April 2020, but inshallah it's an annual thing, so keep looking for it. If you can't join us this year, look for it next year, inshallah. And so in that physical setting, I will be giving you my Fitra Reset workbook, and you'll be getting to do this work with us, and in the most two sacred cities, Medina and Mecca, inshallah. But the Godemy program, it's an online program. I do teach courses on site through various locations. If you want to bring a course to your community, you can just go to my website or contact me at drmarwa@thehomeinstitute.org. And inshallah, we can coordinate one of my courses in your community. I know that sometimes people want to attend something, physical on site. But yeah. And so that concludes all the questions for today. And so I want to thank you all for your time, for bringing your heart to this program, for taking the time out of your day to renew your intentions for Allah, to seek Him, to, let me see, I think I got one more question actually. Okay, so someone's asking, how can you deal with the battle between the heart and mind? That is a very, very long, that is like the entire Godemy program. So I encourage you to really check out the Godemy program. I encourage you to, if you really want to know about the heart and the mind and how they work, check out the Godemy program. Unfortunately, I can't answer this question in one. It takes a lot of work. It's a journey, of how, first you have to understand your design, then you have to understand the role of each then you have you to live a life that is more promoting of your heart towards Allah than your nafs, and so you can walk towards God with all conditions. So yeah, so again, thank you guys for attending. I ask you, you know, if I said anything that is beneficial, I ask you to, you know, it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I said anything that is not beneficial or, you know, unhelpful in any way, please forgive me, and is for my own nafs. And with that, again, may Allah reward you all. May Allah bless you. May Allah make this a means of, you know, a transformative year, inshallah, a transformative, may these steps stay with you and help propel you forward towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and empower you spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. And I look forward to, you know, receiving your applications and getting to continue this work with you, inshallah. Please do keep me in your dua, and wassalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.